Hello and welcome back to the New View. In the last episode, we talked about political extremism and how that's very relevant uh, in just overall modern politics, and we also covered the political spectrum from an extremist point of view. Um, and so today we have uh, Jukebox. What's up, Jukebox?
Hi.
Sweet. So today we're going to be talking about just diversity, and just more equal representation, because it's been an issue a lot within recent times, and yeah, this issue's really starting to come back, as well with a lot of other kinds of issues, but. Yeah, we'll get into that. Let's get into it right now. Um, how would you describe your stance on diversity, just overall?
Well, I definitely think that definitely is accurate. Definitely with especially of people disabilities, people with like less gender equality as well. So LGBTQ is definitely and definitely like I said people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there definitely needs to be a lot more accurate representation of just all kinds of people. Um, there needs to be a better representation of black people, people with disabilities for sure. Really just all kinds. I agree with that for sure. Um, let's see. Hmm. How about we talk about the specific flaws in the way that media portrays all these kind of different groups of people, and how it can lead to negative stereotypes and overall marginalization.
Well, yeah, I mean definitely, for example, there's music by Spire, which definitely had a lot of backlash with the authenticity. And as someone on the spectrum, it really had the stigma of both how can like Spire, as she made the movie, claimed that she had an autistic actress, but it was stressful for her, so she took Maddie instead. But because of the whole backlash, um, the problem with the portrayal that Maddie made and how it was written, it was very stereotypical autism. And when she was called out for the way she portrayed autism, Saya was really rude autism. So when the movie came out, it definitely had a lot of negative representation. Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. So what's this movie called again?
Uh, music.
Sorry, what?
Music.
Just music?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. I've never heard of it. So um, so I'm pretty sure. So this is Sia, right? Like I've normally heard her name be pronounced as Sia, or I guess
Uh,
the way you say it is Saya, but yeah.
yeah.
I had no idea she was autistic, or at least pretending to be. Would you say she's like actually on the spectrum, or would you say she's lying about all that?
She actually made a movie about autistics, but she didn't add people that were actually autistic. So basically, she gave a stereotype with everyone that's autistic. Like how it was basically a movie that was about autism, but it was to a neurotypical audience. I like bright colors, flashing images, which can definitely be very what's the word? Sensory overload for someone that's autistic. So she made a movie about autism, but didn't make it autistic friendly.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense for sure. Yeah, it's for sure problematic. When you're gonna make something like, for example, an autistic movie, or that's not the right term. I mean, a movie that's supposed to be for autistic people, or about just education about autism overall, but overall it not having any autistic people. So yeah, that's definitely problematic for sure. Yeah, and that is what happened. That's what happens with a lot of just other things all throughout media.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think I got another example actually. Let's see. What's this thing called again? Uh, oh yeah, Autism Speaks. So so
Oh
here
yeah.
so here's the thing about Autism Speaks. So yeah, yeah, it's supposed to be about uh education about autism, but it really isn't because, well, uh most of the people who work there and who try to represent autistic people aren't even on the spectrum themselves. There was like only one person that was actually autistic that I've even heard of that was on Autism Speaks. Um, and I know they do tend to paint autistic people in a more negative light. Like they say they're trying to cure autism or stuff like that. And that they're trying
You don't
to,
need to do it.
yeah, for sure. It's not something you cure. It's just the way how some people are born. I mean, we're all born different, so you know,
Yeah.
like if you by that logic, if you cure literally everyone for being different, then everyone is just exactly the same. There's no individuality
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's for sure um, a way how um, autistic people can be painted in a negative light. Let's
Especially
see.
when you,
Oh, what?
especially if you're not, especially if you're not getting the people of that community actually involved. Because she dissed someone that said that claimed that said they were just on the spectrum and wondered why they weren't hired to be in a movie. And basically, she said to them, maybe just not good at acting.
Oh yeah. Um, yeah, that's definitely a problem right there. Um,
Yeah,
if you're gonna have a movie like that, I mean, you might as well at least have some autistic people on it to, make sure the representation is accurate.
yeah. It's about talking to that minority group so you can have a better idea to have an accurate representation.
Yeah, for sure. You gotta communicate with these people to make sure you're getting it right. So I mean, if it's from a neurotypical point of view, it's not exactly going to be accurate.
This definitely goes the same with people that are different ethnicities or LGBTQ certification.
Oh yeah, for sure. Let's see. Let me think of an example. Let's see. Overall, and this is mostly a thing in America, but this really applies to just everywhere. Um, uh, there's definitely not enough black representation in the media. I mean, it's getting better. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm definitely happy to see more black people in media because black people are out there. But just overall, just throughout the years, ever since really just media itself, there hasn't been a lot of black portrayal. Um, Not a lot of just overall, not a lot of black actors because Hollywood tends to hire white people more.
So like whitewash.
Yeah, for sure. It's whitewashed. Because the dominant race is considered to be white because of all the racism that has occurred in America. Over all these hundreds of years. Um,
In yeah, in relation to black representation, what one major example that would consider a great example of would definitely be
Black what?
Black Panther.
Oh
The
yeah,
movie.
Black Panther. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I've actually never seen Black Panther. And it's
I haven't either, but I heard it's pretty good.
yeah, I heard it's pretty good too. And I promise it's not because like I have a problem with black people. I definitely don't. It's just because like I'm not the biggest fan of Marvel really. So I just never really got to it. I mean, I think I'll give it a shot because I mean, I'm open minded. There's definitely a lot of films I gotta see. Like I haven't even seen like E.T. or Rocky, like big movies like those.
Yeah.
Um,
And another one is Hairspray as well, which takes place and it's definitely got black representation, hostile representation.
hmm.
Definitely it's a cool, but it's really great. It feels like and that's another thing. There's a difference between forced diversity and natural diversity.
Oh, well, what would you say the difference is?
Well, forced diversity basically you're taking something, but you're forcing diversity without any public context, or you're just doing it for the sake of. But natural diversity should at least try and make sense.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. You definitely can't force diversity because I mean you're basically using like if it were to be with black people for an example, if you were to force diversity, like have someone in there just because they're black, you'd be using them as a token. You'd be using it as an
yeah,
excuse to just make the film or musical or whatever look better, which is an exploitation of black people itself. So yeah, you really got to be careful with that. You just got
true.
to make sure to just overall be more inclusive. That's the main key here.
In my personal sense, it should like make sense both the settings and well, both settings and
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Is there any reputation that you have
Any
yourself?
representation that what
Any like minority representation that you enjoy
that I
that,
enjoy?
that or that you have seen in a movie or show
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
makes you like wow.
Yeah. Let me think of an example. Hmm. Uh. Hmm. So I know there's a lot. Let's see. Yeah, let me think of a movie. If not, I'll probably think of music because I listen to a lot of music. Let's see. Um. Oh man, I'm just having a hard time thinking because I haven't seen a lot of movies lately. Let's see, because
Or
it's been
TV.
like forever since yeah, it really feels like it's been forever since anything just came out recently. Um,
What about TV shows?
TV shows. Um, I can't really say for sure because I mostly just watch cartoons. I did just think of an example. Oh wait, crap. I forgot the title of that movie. Actually, I can just look it up real fast. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, I'm sure I can find it real fast. Um,
Yeah, another thing that came into mind was the like Black Lives. I was thinking also about the Black Lives Matter movement and definitely like equality for Black people as well.
oh yeah, for sure. So wait, sorry. Can you rephrase that? What was your question or comment? Like I know it was about Black Lives Matter, but
It's also I feel like it definitely ties in with representation of like so it goes hand in.
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, the Black Lives Matter movement. First of all, let me just say it's a very important movement. And we definitely need to. It's something we definitely need to keep talking about. And but yeah, second of all, yeah, Black Lives Matter has definitely had a lot of influence, especially lately. Um, and yeah, I really do hope that Black Lives Matter is gonna inspire more Black representation. Um,
And it's also I believe is Black History Month as well.
oh yeah, that's right. It is Black History Month.
Yeah, yeah.
So I am gonna comment on Black History Month. I will say at first I was a bit skeptical of Black History Month. I mean, I thought it was just an excuse to just talk about black people just for no reason. But um, yeah, the truth is, well, I really changed that perspective once I really started to get more into the Black Lives Matter movement, and I really started to understand a bit more uh, that really black people have been treated just absolutely unfairly, just um, over the course of history, especially American history, um, and that really it really is a great thing that there is a Black History Month. Um, really, just because we need to learn about history through a black perspective as well.
Yeah.
Because uh, the way history's taught, it's really just from just a white perspective. So
Yeah.
it's certainly unfair.
There's also other history months that I definitely don't think it like Civic Islander month, the South Asian Heritage Month, National Hispanic Heritage Month.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I think we're gonna run out of months. I mean, I'm not saying like those aren't important. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, I don't know. I think we're gonna run out of months if we keep doing that. But yeah,
yeah.
what month is yeah, what's one of them you said like Hispanic month or something? Yeah, what month is that?
And then from September 15th to October, say.
September 15th to October? Um, hmm.
Yeah.
So, kind of like one of those middle of the month things like zodiac signs, probably.
Yeah, something like that. Does they say Native American? Well,
Sorry, what?
does they say Native American Indian heritage?
Oh, wait, wait. Are you saying there's a Native American History Month too, or are you asking something about Native Americans?
I'm saying that there's other heritage months in the US that I don't get talked about a lot because it's just
Oh, okay.
a lot of Yeah. I mean, yes, I do think Black Lives Matter. It definitely was but I think other representations about more as well.
Yeah, yeah. Other representation is definitely important. Um, let's see. Hold on. Let me try to think again of just a movie with more representation. I mean, honestly, yeah. Again, it's really tough to think of. Um, uh, because first of all, there isn't a lot of good representation. Second of all, yeah, a lot of movies haven't been coming out lately. I'll think of one maybe kind of recent. But not exactly the most recent. Actually, I just thought of one. You know the movie Hidden Figures?
No, I don't.
So it's about this. So it's about this black woman who wants to become a. Uh, let's see. She's a mathematician. I forgot her name. But it was based off of a real person. I'm pretty sure she was the first. Yeah, she was the first black woman who was let's see. I'm pretty sure it's a NASA engineer. Um, let's see. I mean, she definitely worked with NASA. I'm pretty sure she was an engineer. It definitely involved a lot of mathematics, and physics. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure she was a rocket engineer. If the if the title is incorrect, if the title of her work position is incorrect, I'm sorry, but I mean that that's basically what I remember from watching the movie. But yeah, but yeah, it was a really great movie, and it had I'd say it definitely had a great representation of black people and music as well. So and it was definitely a movie showing a lot of progress with racial integration. Um, and just yeah, just progress of racial equality in general. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Have you seen that movie, by the way?
No, I haven't.
I'd highly recommend it. Yeah, it's
I'll
called
have to
Hidden
put it on the.
Figures. It's amazing.
I'll put it on. I'll have to put it on the list.
All right, cool for sure. Yeah, that's the first example off the top of my head. I also noticed uh that you mentioned Native Americans earlier. So I mean, I'm not Native myself, but um, I will say I have noticed there's really not a lot of representation really at all with Native Americans, which I find kind of sad.
Well,
Uh,
there is, but it's quite negative as well. Like,
there is
for
what?
example, there's quite a there's quite a negative representation or very offensive.
Oh yeah, for sure. There can be negative representation for sure. Yeah, I'm not saying there isn't negative representation.
There's
Um,
two things. There's two that come up in my head. One, Pocahontas. I hate that movie.
oh,
Pocahontas.
I haven't even seen that movie honestly.
It's really actually very historically accurate because Pocahontas was actually a child, and John Smith, they weren't in love. She married someone else.
Oh wow. Yeah, that sounds like a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah. Another one is Tiger Lily from Peter Pan. Definitely a really offensive name of epic.
Oh
Not actually.
shit. Yeah, I
Yeah.
fuck. Yeah, I remember that. I mean, as much as I like Peter Pan, I mean, like other than the way it represents Native Americans, I do think it's a great film, but yeah, that just whole scene with like uh just just all the Native Americans, it was crazy. Like I was like holy shit. like they're not joking with this. I was just surprised overall.
Yeah. Well, what about Asian representation? That
Oh yeah. Let's see. I'd say Asian representation has been getting better. I mean, there's definitely still a lot to work on. Let's see. Let me think of an example. Um,
like the one I think of is Mulan, definitely. And there's also a new movie coming out by Disney, Brightheart and the Last Dragon, and it looks really good. The latter movie, the Brightheart, it's definitely Southeast representation.
oh,
Definitely the Southeast, yeah.
I never heard it, but I mean, if as long as it's positive representation, then yeah, cool. Um, yeah, let me think if there's got to be some.
Oh, oh yeah, and there's also another native representation that's a I think personally it's a really great representation. Definitely if you Frozen 2, there is like a native guy in there. Personally, I'm not native, so I can't speak on behalf of people in that. But I definitely think it's a great example of native representation.
Oh, I actually haven't seen Frozen 2. I mean, I saw the first one when it came out. Yeah, maybe I'll watch the second one sometime. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
but
I mean, if it's a good representation, then cool.
yeah, yeah. Back to Asian representation. What were you saying?
I'm just trying to think of a good example. I've noticed that in TV shows, there's definitely a lot more Asian inclusivity, which I think is great. But I'm just trying to pinpoint an example. Um, hmm, yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, like we can't think of any. What about LGBT representation? Because I know trans, you're trans.
Uh, yeah. Um, yeah, for sure. LGBT representation. Yeah, that's definitely important as well. Um, let's see, and yeah, it's been getting better. Lately, but yeah, it could improve absolutely. Uh, but yeah, um, yeah, it's for sure been getting better. Oh yeah, there is this one movie that I think is a. I mean, I'm not lesbian myself personally, but I'm pansexual, so I mean, I do think this is um a great representation of lesbians. Have you ever heard of the movie But I'm Not a Cheerleader? But I Am a Cheerleader.
I've heard of that movie.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
really good. It's about this girl who's a cheerleader and she's in denial about being lesbian um because she thinks that since she's a cheerleader and since cheerleaders are portrayed as stereotypically feminine and therefore stereotypically straight, um, that she is straight and that if she's not straight, there's something wrong with her. But then she basically finds out that she's not straight and comes to term with being lesbian. And I'm not going to spoil the rest of that movie, but I really do think that's a great representation of the LGBT community.
yeah. Speaking in relation to lesbian representation, I mean, personally, what I observe, when it comes to lesbian representation, I've noticed that such lesbian characters are always or they appear masculine. I've never seen a movie or TV show that represents um lesbian as more feminine. Like you have
Oh,
like a butch lesbian. I've never seen like a girly lesbian.
oh, then I'd for sure highly recommend But I'm a Cheerleader because she's definitely more on the feminine side. I forgot her name, but yeah, the protagonist is
Yeah,
definitely more on the feminine side. So that
I
definitely
don't.
gets rid of that stereotype. I'd highly recommend that film.
Well, that's good because I hardly ever see any feminine representation. Well, I just don't see it.
Yeah, it's dumb for sure. 'Cause I mean, yeah, we all know not every lesbian is like uh just masculine and does everything that boys do and stuff like that. There are lesbians of all kind, and there can definitely
Yeah.
be girly lesbians out there. Um,
I'll say it should be the same for gay representation as well because not
oh
either
yeah,
stereotype
sure.
like girly, feminine, gay, but what about the representation for masculine?
Yeah,
Like
for
let it
sure. I've
be
noticed
let
that.
it, yeah.
Like in the media loves, and I mean loves to portray like the oh I'm super fabulous kind of gay, and I'm not saying that to make fun of gay people. Like the media, yeah, that's what the media does. I'm making fun of the media, making fun of gay people, but yeah, the media loves to just latch onto that fabulous stereotype. Yeah, the media never, well, almost never, um, shows just gay men just being gay men who just so happen to be uh, more masculine or something like that. Let's see, I there was this one movie I saw. I completely forgot what it was called. Uh,
It's not Love Simon, is it?
I don't think so. But I'll describe a scene in it, and if you've seen it, maybe you can remind me what it is. But I do remember the scene. Uh, so so there was like this gym class. It was like either yoga or some sort of aerobics or something like that. Um, and there were these two women uh who were falling for the instructor. Um, or instructor sounds like too harsh for words, so I'll just say teacher, just overall training teacher. Um, and he was like this, just this really buff, muscular, like typical Chad dude. Um, like
Chad.
yeah, basically the kind of guy you'd expect to just get all the girls, at least the way the media portrays it. Um,
The alpha male.
yeah, fit the stereotypical alpha Chad, yeah, stuff like that. But yeah, so and then just out of the blue, he was just like, "Oh, sorry, I'm actually gay," and then they were just absolutely shocked. They were like, "Wait, what? You're gay?" And it was the most hilarious thing I've ever seen. Um,
Yeah,
and I
I
think
think I know what movie you're talking about, but I don't remember the title of it either.
yeah, I wanna figure out what the title about that was because I want to rewatch that. So I thought it was a great movie. Um, I think I might be remembering this wrong, but I think I remember right after he said that, like his boyfriend came in and they started kissing, and then they just got out of there once the class was over. But yeah, it was hilarious, and like
Yeah.
these women were shocked, like they couldn't even believe what they were seeing, which was hilarious. So I think that's a great representation of gay men for sure.
Yeah. But again, I do think like some of the stereotypes of like, oh, if you're not gay, if you're not feminine and gay, you're not gay, or if you're not masculine lesbian,
Yeah,
which basically falls into that stereotype. Well, yes, those stereotypes can tend to be um, true and real. There are masculine, masculine lesbians out there and feminine gays out there, but I definitely think there should definitely be more representation breaking stereotypes that girl lesbians exist. There needs to be more representation, and same with masculine gays.
yeah, for sure. Uh, yeah, I really think there should just be a representation of really just everyone. Like
Yeah.
just all
Oh,
kinds of people across the spectrum who are LGBT. So I mean, there are definitely feminine gay people out there. I mean, I've seen them at a pride protest. Like they definitely exist for sure. But yeah, the um yeah for
but I
sure.
like to see I would definitely like to see the opposite of that, like I said, like masculine gays and
Oh yeah, they're definitely out there too. And it's definitely great to see some representation of them. I think another great example is so this is more music, but a lot of people were shocked when they found out Rob Halford from Judas Priest was gay, because they basically saw him as like this uh tough guy, metal god, just this overall motorcycle dude. But once they found out he was gay, um, uh, like everyone was shocked. But then everyone was like, you know what? I think metal can be gay, and yeah, I like that conclusion for sure. Um, and
yeah.
by the way, I know this is a bit of a stereotype, but um, so do you know the stereotype that gay people like to wear leather?
Yeah, or like musical theatre.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, Rob Halford, he loves to wear leather. I mean, like, and this isn't to like. I mean, I will admit it's kind of funny because I mean, like, when I found out he was gay, I was like, oh, I guess the leather stuff kind of makes sense. That's more of a joke, but I mean, uh, but yeah, but yeah. So that stereotype, I don't know if you could say it's harmful. I don't know. It's just I'll just say it's a thing. It's really just a thing. It's just a stereotype, but yeah. I just thought I'd bring that up. Um, but yeah.
Well, what about your thoughts? Like, what about your thoughts on?
Sorry, what was that?
And so, what are your thoughts on gender representation?
On gender representation?
Transgender, yeah,
Oh, transgender representation.
yeah, yeah.
Well, the truth is I haven't really seen any at all. I can't name one movie where there's a trans character, not one. I can't even name a TV show where there's a trans character. Um, so I know they're out there, but I mean, I really just can't name one at all. How about you?
Um, there is one character that I know in Supergirl that is transgender,
Oh,
and the
okay.
actress is transgender as well. I looked it up. She, I don't remember her name, but she plays a character called Dream Catcher, and her character is both half alien, half human.
Oh, wow.
Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry. Her character is named Dream Catcher, and she is transgender, male to female.
Oh.
And basically, like I said, her name is Dreamcatcher, and her character is half human, half alien.
Hmm. I
Oh yeah, and There's also was some transgender and a non-binary representation in the latest Star Trek as well.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't watch Star Trek personally, but I heard about it.
Yeah, I don't watch Star Trek either. I do know that for some reason the LGBT community loves Star Trek. Um, that might have been why Star Trek did that, but I'm not sure. I'm not even sure why the LGBT community loves Star Trek so much. Um, I mean, I've seen a little bit of it. I've seen like one episode of the original series, and I saw like I think two of the movies. I mean, it's all right, but it's not quite my thing. But yeah, that's pretty cool if they got some uh transgender and non-binary representation. That's pretty cool.
Definitely like gender fluid as well.
Oh,
But I'm
nice.
but definitely one sexuality that definitely gets left behind in the LGBT. Is asexual. Definitely asexual is definitely a
Oh,
big one.
yeah, for sure. Um, oh yeah. So that reminds me. Um, so I'm not gonna try to use this as an advertisement, but I will say I'm actually writing a book where every single character in it is asexual.
Yeah, I personally find asexual in, but it definitely gets a lot of negative stigma attached to it.
Yeah, it does. Because
It definitely gets
asexual people like they're definitely like the stereotypes definitely portray asexual people as just awkward weirdos who can't get a date, stuff like that. And yeah, it's all just harmful. It's not true. It's not that they can't get a date. It's that well, they just don't want to have sex.
yeah, and that's where like that there's like the romantic stuff, like heteromantic, biromantic, lesbian romantic, panromantic, biromantic, aromantic.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can definitely have uh all kinds of romantic attractions if you're asexual. It's completely irrelevant to being uh asexual 'cause you can still feel romantic feelings, but yeah, asexual is just uh you feel no sexual attraction.
Yeah, it definitely get a lot left behind the LGBT. A majority, not saying all, but a lot of people like will knock it off as it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
But I know it exists. It's that erasure of asex asexuality. It
yeah,
definitely gets erased more than like being gay or lesbian or bisexual or anything in between.
yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, yeah, I haven't seen any asexual representation. I mean, well, I might have. I don't know. But yeah, yeah, asexual people, uh, they definitely need to be heard more and accepted as LGBT because a lot of people just don't see them as LGBT because they're like, oh wait, you're not attracted to the same gender. How can you call yourself LGBT? You're not gay. What's wrong with you? Um, yeah, that's definitely harmful as well. Yeah,
Because we live in a society that is very so hyperfixated sex.
yeah, that's definitely the problem. Yeah, society is really fixated on sex. It's everywhere. It's in movies, it's in television, it's in magazines, like it's on billboards, it's everywhere. Like society is obsessed with sex and it's very toxic. I mean, I'm not saying sex is a bad thing. I'm just saying it shouldn't be advertised. Um
Yeah, yeah. That it should be okay to have a lack of sexual desire, it's totally okay with that.
Yeah.
Totally okay to not have sexual attraction than romantic attraction. Like, but either way, both are valid.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, no matter how much sexual attraction or romantic attraction you have, I'd really just say it's all valid because, well, it is.
Yeah. Um. What representation do you wish more in the future?
That's a good question. Let's see. I definitely like to see a bit more Native American representation. Um, but at the same time, I know that the and I'm not just going to say this as singular. I'm going to say Native American communities because it's not just one. Um, but yeah, I will say that Native American communities. I know it's a very touchy subject with these communities because they want to do whatever they can to avoid negative representation. But I do think that there should be a lot of communication with these Native American communities um, as to just overall how how to represent them in a fair light, uh, a fair and accurate light, in a just overall in a positive way. Um, I'd say that yeah, if there can be some communication in there and overall just a good representation, just um, overall I'd really just like to see that. And I do think there should be a bit of more uh, transgender representation. I think that'd be great too. Um, oh wait, actually, I did think of another one. I think there should be more Pacific Islander representation too. I,
Oh yeah, definitely, and
yeah, I'd
especially
like
as
to.
an Australian.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
I'd.
not. I'm not. I'm not indigenous, so I can't speak for indigenous. But I'm an ally, so I speak with. But I definitely think there definitely needs to be more First Nation people in the media, especially in Australia,
Yeah, yeah, for
like
sure.
Native.
Like I've noticed. So here's something interesting I noticed. I'm not going to say exactly what state I live in. I mean, I will say that I live in America, but I'm not going to specify the state. But I noticed over here, there's definitely a lot of Polynesian culture over here, and a lot of Polynesian people, and I've explored that culture. I'd say quite a bit. And I've met and gotten to know a lot of Polynesian people. But one thing I have noticed, I just haven't seen really just any Polynesian culture or just representation at all within any media, and it's just crazy. It's shocking. Like I mean, it's just crazy to just see a culture and people that I know just in my everyday life, but I'm not able to see them just on the media, just like on TV shows and movies and etc. and stuff. Like it's just crazy. It's mind blowing. So I definitely
You,
like to see a lot more Polynesian and Pacific Islander representation. I think that'd be great.
you're forgetting about Moana. Moana is definitely a good example.
Oh wait, did you say it was a bad example?
No, I said it's a great example.
Oh yeah,
Moana.
Moana. I I mean, let's see. I don't know. I'd say it was an all right example, but I mean, like at the same time, you know, it's Disney. They fuck up a lot. When it comes to representation. Um, I can't think of any flaws. I'd say I yeah, I guess you could say it's a good representation. Um, I definitely like to see what the what Polynesian communities would have to say about Moana. I've heard a little bit of commentary. Um, I'm pretty sure they said that Moana can do better, but I haven't heard too much negative. So yeah, I guess that's pretty good. At the
I
same
mean,
time,
especially
I definitely like to see more though. But yeah, what were you saying?
yeah. Especially when it comes to representation, despite ethnicity or LGBTQ or disability or any other representation community group, it definitely can definitely have conversations with people, talk about it with the actual minority groups, actually educate yourself. So if you want to talk representation, you can definitely talk to people, educate yourself, research, just really get into.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's definitely a good idea to explore all these different cultures and communities and um just all this stuff. Really just the way to tolerance is really just to learn about the world. I've definitely been doing that a
Yeah,
lot lately. I've been doing research on all kinds of cultures, communities, religions, all kinds of viewpoints, just overall, all kinds of people, just all kinds of cultures and all kinds of communities, and it's really great. And after a while, once you start looking into all of this, you start to realize that really you're just learning about the world. You're just learning about the world that you live in, and it's a beautiful thing.
yeah. I mean, personally, representation that I want to see more is definitely people that more disability representation. And
Oh yeah,
def-
for sure.
and what I've noticed when it comes to disability representation, I've noticed that the majority of representation is white. I would love to see more diversity of disabilities and people of color with disability.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be a great idea. Um, I will think of a good example of someone who's a person of color with a disability, though. Have you ever seen Malcolm in the Middle?
Oh yeah, I've seen a little bit of it.
Yeah, so Malcolm is friends with this one kid. Let me think of his name. I actually watched the clip earlier. Um, let's see, I forgot his name. I could just look it up real fast. It's been forever since I've seen that show. Uh,
Yeah.
Malcolm.
Also another one was oh yeah, biracial because as someone that is half as me, I'm half Asian white. I tend to see a lot of black and white, biracial. I definitely think a biracial representation needs to be just to tell like the struggles of being biracial, having an identity crisis, trying to find out if you're, which culture you belong to, and just really expressing yourself despite being, half or a descendant of said ethnicity.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can agree with that. It'd be great to see a lot of biracial representation. I mean, there's The Rock. I mean, he's in a lot of movies, so I mean, but at the same time, yeah, there does need to be more representation. I can agree with that. By the way, I just found out his name. Stevie. So he's black and he has a few disabilities actually. So he's in a wheelchair. And he also has a bit of a speech problem. Where uh where he has to breathe a lot in between words. And overall he's a great character. He's a lovable guy. He's super nice and he's pretty smart and he's pretty funny as well. So I think Stevie from Malcolm in the Middle is a fantastic representation a person of color who's disabled.
Yeah. Also interracial couples definitely needs to be seen more. Not just black and white. Like what if like a Hispanic in love with Indian,
Oh
an
yeah, yeah,
Asian
for sure.
woman in love with a black man.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I
It's just-
can I can absolutely agree with that as well.
No, it's always like black and white, black and white, black and white. I don't see anything other. It's always black and white. I've noticed that everything is always black and
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, so, yeah, society. I really feel that society is really just afraid of interracial relationships because they feel like, oh, that's just gonna uh, create a bunch of people who uh, aren't black or white, and when in reality, it doesn't really matter. People should love each other no matter what their race is. So there absolutely needs to be a lot more interracial couple representation for sure.
ooh, I think of erasure, erasure. So, for example, you might have racial erasure, LGBT erasure, disability erasure. So basically, let's say, for example, a comic book, alright? The character from that comic book is, say, Romanov. So, for example, Wanda from Marvel.
Yeah.
She was whitewashed. She was whitewashed by a white actress, Elizabeth Olsen. But the character is Roman. Yeah, what I'm saying is that um, it's important that uh, producers, directors, and writers hire people that are from that ethnicity, get representation.
Well, so here's one thing. I will say this is kind of an area where things can get a bit complicated. Um, I'd say like so I'm gonna have to disagree just a little bit because I'd say overall this can create a bit of a problem here. Um, because think of it like this. What if there's like a movie or let's just say there's a I'm just gonna give a hypothetical example. What if there's a movie that's based off of a book, um, where in the book almost everyone was white, and in the movie, as a result, like if that had to apply, like if the actors had to be of the same race as in the book, um, that would mean that almost every actor that would be hired would have to be white. So I feel like that deny a lot of opportunity for people of color. Um, so I will say, like it's definitely a tricky one. I mean, there definitely needs to be good representation for sure, but at the same time, this is where things get a bit complicated. Um,
Yeah, it gets like iffy.
yeah, I'd say it's iffy. I'd say if it ever comes to a situation like this, uh, like they should definitely weigh out who like what are the options, uh, who's applying to be this actor, and overall, does this character absolutely have to be white or black or something like that? Overall, I'd say uh like this is my opinion. This is my perspective on this, but uh I'd say it really shouldn't matter because I'd say it should just be for the sake of being able to uh hire more actors that are people of color, um because as you know, a lot of pieces of media, especially within Hollywood, are um, well predominantly white. So I do think that if if characters were more diverse, even if it's not what skin color they were before, that this really isn't a bad thing, um, because it definitely provide more opportunity for people of color to get hired as actors.
Well, I personally think it all just it mostly just boils down to the setting and the genre. So
Yeah,
unless if
it's for
if
sure. Like it's very complicated. Yeah, this is definitely where it starts to get more complicated because I mean, like if you want to make a movie that's actively trying to represent a certain culture or race or type of person, it's definitely good um to definitely include these kinds of people. I could definitely agree with that. Um, uh, but at the same time, if it's something that's a little more neutral on race or ethnicity, etc., where it can really just be anyone uh, of any race who can act, I'd say it shouldn't just be white people who are the actors, because I mean, let's face it, it's usually white people. I'd say if it's in this scenario, it should really be up to um,
yeah
because you wanna try to find a balance between accurate representation and diversity.
it's really difficult to find that like middle where
Yeah, it is. And yeah, it's very hard, but I'd say the best way to do it is to overall um just be more inclusive and at the same time talk to all kinds of different communities of people. Talk to the black community, talk to the disabled community, talk to the Native American communities, talk to the lesbian community. I'm just throwing out random examples, but yeah,
yeah
definitely communicate with people and just expand the options. Um, and but yeah, it's for sure absolutely really complicated. But yeah, I'd say
yeah
that's the best solution to that.
yeah. You can also like follow like content creators within that minority group. So for example, black creators, like artists, black writers,
Yeah, yeah,
or
for
if it's
sure.
native, yeah. Like you definitely want to support like I said like or black businesses for example, or if it's Asian like Asian businesses, Asian content creators, Asian um makers or Asian workers.
Well, I mean, I'd say fuck capitalism, but I mean at the same time, you know, at the moment we can't really like you know avoid buying things at least for now. I mean that's gonna change, but I mean for now though I can definitely agree with that. Because a lot of let's see, let me think of a good example. Um, yeah, I heard this from uh, let's see. Oh yeah, this is a video I saw. Where a Native American person was saying that um, that Native American art, for example, um, that there are a lot of that there are a lot of
Like
white owned
take
businesses that are trying to pass off Native American art. I mean, their art is Native American art, when really it's not. Uh,
But what if that person's like half native or
If that person
descendant
what?
of if that person's like native descent or they're half native or they're still native. Like even if they're like native descent or half native, they're still native.
I mean they are, but I mean, well, I'm talking about
Like non-native.
yeah, I'm talking about like a white-owned business trying to pass off their art as native art and then selling it
That's
as native art. And
the same
so
with
this,
indigenous people as well.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
people would sell off white people would sell off Aboriginal art when you can just locally just purchase from
yeah, yeah.
First Nation people themselves.
Yeah, that's true. That's what the native person said in the video. That uh
Cultural appropriation.
well, so here's the thing about cultural appropriation. And you may disagree with me on this, but I wouldn't say cultural appropriation is a bad thing. And like and this is why I'm gonna explain. I'd say because it's really the same as cultural diffusion. Um, I mean, so like don't get me wrong, I do think that negative stereotypes and representation are horrible, but at the same time, cultures cultures fuse together. Like let me give an example. Tacos. Let's see. No wait, I don't think it was. Oh yeah, tacos. So have you ever like? I know you live in Australia, but have you heard of the fast food chain Taco Bell?
Yeah, I have. I'm pretty sure
So
I think there's one in Australia.
oh well, interesting. So but yeah, first of all, let me just say fuck Taco Bell because they gave a fuck ton of money to Trump. But yeah, I'm using Taco Bell as an example because this restaurant barely has any negative stigma. And tacos in general don't either. So tacos are actually a like many different styles of tacos. Not the original type taco, but the evolution to modern tacos are a result of cultural appropriation. Um, because so the original tacos, like the way they're made in Mexico, um, they're made with tiny flour tortillas and just a type of meat, and that's it. Um, and but the modern version of a taco uses a corn tortilla, and the way Taco Bell does it, like they have like sometimes they have like these Doritos tortillas. They have like this weird style of like super finely ground meat. That's like very saucy and stuff. A fuck ton of cheese and lettuce. Yeah, that's not really the way like original tacos were. And as you know, Taco Bell, like let's just face it, it's American fast food. It's not Mexican. It's not a Mexican restaurant. Um, yeah, I mean I don't eat tacos either, but I mean I'm just saying this for the people who do like tacos because you know tacos are painted in a positive light. It's really an example of cultural appropriation or cultural diffusion. Um, I mean, and
I mean,
I wouldn't really say it's a bad thing. Really, because I mean cultures diffuse all the time. It's how we I mean it's how we have a lot of what we have today.
yeah. I think I'm sure you probably say the same thing as with like um pizza. That's
Oh
Italian.
yeah,
And pasta.
yeah. Pizza is also a product of cultural appropriation or cultural diffusion. So yeah, it comes from Italy. So the way pizza was originally made, it was just dough and sauce. That's it, nothing else. And then
Yeah.
once the Italians came to America, they introduced America to pizza, and then America was basically like, "Hey, let's put a fuck ton of cheese on this," and yeah, let's put a fuck ton of meat on this. Let's put a fuck ton of just all sorts of shit on this. And yeah, that created like the modern day a million different toppings pizza we know today. Um, and I mean,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm not here to like shit on pizza. Um, I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean,
like, yeah,
yeah.
there's like, I mean, I eat pizza, but I mean, uh, but yeah, pizza was like in its original form just dough and sauce, just dough and tomato sauce. That's it.
Yeah. There was recent controversy about this white-owned business that was making Asian, and this girl got a lot of backlash. And I personally, when it comes to cultural appropriation and food, I find that quite a bit of a stretch because it's like saying, oh, so if you're not Italian, you shouldn't eat Italian food. If you're not Native American, you should eat Native American outfits and clothing and like customs and beliefs. Yeah, I understand that, but when it comes to like food, I find that quite a bit check because like this food.
Yeah, it is. I'd say this really applies to everything though. Like I know you and me may disagree on this a bit, but yeah, I'd say I don't think it's wrong for let me use an example. Um, let's see. Yeah, I don't think it's wrong for white people to be spiritual or white people to use plant medicine. I know a lot of native communities tend to shun white people for getting into spirituality or getting into plant medicine, stuff like that. I mean, this is where I'm gonna have to disagree. I really don't think it's wrong. I mean, I'd say like everyone has their own views and their own practices, and
Yeah,
I'd say
I mean, like,
spirituality has just overall actually spirituality is all around the world. There's spirituality in China and India, um
yeah,
just
well,
everywhere.
but
Um
if you're like married to into one, that's a different story. That's a different story. Married,
wait, what?
like, so, like if you're married into with some like your husband might be next, your your wife might be Indian, so you might want to like sometimes they're trying to convert or sometimes you have that agreement of finding that.
Uh yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Something I was saying, food. I don't see it as a problem with cultural appropriation because food is food. Food is very universal, and I personally think it's really great when you have cultures, sharing food because you're basically sharing your own culture through food that you eat. Things that you eat in your culture, in your belief system, in your ethnicity, what you believe
well,
in
yeah,
your
for
morals.
sure. But I do have a question for you here. I'm gonna challenge your view just a little bit here. Um, so so I just want to know. So you say it's great for cultures to share their food, but how? Why can't they share anything else? Why is that such a problem? Uh,
Um, if you're talking about clothing and making something like that very close to a culture, it's like take something that isn't yours, or just like taking something and claiming it as yours. You're basically it's colonization. It's taking away the meaning of that thing and just westernizing it.
well, so Well, why can't
Makes
that
sense.
be the same as like the same said for food? Like that food is colonization. Like for example, uh with pizza, like should it be considered offensive uh or like colonialist to add cheese on pizza just because it's like it's Americanized pizza? I mean, and also so I'm gonna challenge you just a little bit here as well. And I got another question. So so I know you brought up clothing. Um, and I noticed how you said it's like taking something that isn't yours. Wouldn't that kind of lead to an ethno state? Where it's all about cultures claiming certain things as their own, and that people that are not of this culture or race absolutely can't have. Wouldn't that lead to a more intolerant ethno state mentality?
I don't know what you mean by I don't know what you mean.
Okay, so an ethno state is and this so ethno state applies to culture, race, or ethnicity. So it's kind of a branch term. So it's basically a society or government built and based entirely around a culture, race, or ethnicity, um, or sometimes all three. And an example of this is Nazi Germany. Um, so what Nazi? We all know what Nazi Germany did, but yeah, just
Yeah.
for a recap, yeah, Nazi Germany, as you know, said that this land is only for the white people, that this country is only for the white people, um, and that this way of life is only for the white people, um, and this Nazi uniform is only for the white people. Just overall, all that, etc. I'm just saying that all that can just lead to a more ethno state mentality, um, where a bunch of cultures start say, "Oh shit, I guess there really is. Um, I guess we really are so different. I guess we just got to stick to our own kind." I just feel like it can really lead to that kind of just dangerous ethno state mentality. Um, which is why I embrace cultural diffusion so much personally. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm against colonialism 100%. Just taking people's entire way of life by force, and forcefully replacing it with another way of life is absolutely not okay. I'm with you there, absolutely 100%. But I'm just saying, if cultures or races grab onto something too much and claim it as only their own, no one else can have it. Absolutely, I'm just saying that can create more of an ethno state mentality.
I see where you're getting, but there's a difference between cultural appropriation, cultural appreciation. So, for example, is like if you're white and you're dressed in Indian clothes and you're mocking them, that's where I feel cultural appropriation is. But
Well, I mean, I can
cultural
agree. It's like, oh wait, actually, yeah, go on.
Yeah, and then you have cultural appreciation, which is basically you're respecting a culture, but you're not mocking, mocking, mocking them, or you're taking away the meaning from that culture. And definitely, an example would definitely be spiritual rituals, for example, or things that are related to spiritual meaning and rituals that may be like blessing or curses or healing.
So, so, uh, so I want to go back to what you said before. So I can completely agree. that it's wrong to like just like the example you brought up earlier, like put on like a clothing considered uh native um and mocking it, but what if you were to um what if you were to try on the clothing and not take away from its meaning, be just completely considerate of the culture and just not mock it in any way? Would you consider that to be acceptable, or is that not okay? Is it just not okay for white people
Um,
to wear native clothes at all?
as long as it's not westernizing it or taking like, as long as it's like, getting your you are asked permission before getting approved. So it depends on like which person you go. Some people will say no, some people will say yes.
Okay.
But it's not, like I said, if you're like mocking or you definitely, sexual stereotype.
Yeah, yeah, I can agree. Mocking it is absolutely not cool. Like for example, being a Native American for Halloween, I can agree that's not cool at all.
Yeah. There's a lot of things like, oh, our culture is not a costume, because it's like that's what cultural appropriation is. It's basically mocking some or just someone's culture um by whitening it or westernizing it or taking away. And appreciation is when you appreciate the culture in a respectful way without making it offensive.
So I
The that are sacred as well. So you definitely need to, especially when it comes to like native or indigenous like religions and beliefs, you have to quite respectful and very open-minded. And again, it's different opinions as well. Unless if you're invited to do something, you have to definitely respect respect their belief and definitely learn and educate yourself.
well, yeah, I'd say you should definitely uh respect other people's views and beliefs for sure. And definitely educate for sure. But I do have a bit of a follow up question. So what would you say in your like in the way you describe it, is the difference between cultural appropriation and cultural diffusion? So I know you said
Um,
cultural appreciation, but what about cultural diffusion? What would you say is the difference between cultural appropriation and cultural diffusion?
let me just look up.
All right. And while you're looking that up, so I will say, uh, I've I've seen a lot of people explain the difference between cultural appropriation and cultural diffusion, and I'm gonna be honest, the answer I got wasn't satisfying enough because it basically said that um the only difference between cultural appropriation and cultural diffusion is that cultural diffusion is deemed acceptable and cultural appropriation is not deemed acceptable, or aka in simple terms, one is good and one is bad. But at the same time, morality, the morality of it, as you know, morality is subjective. So I'd say, yeah, I don't think that's a satisfying answer. Uh, at least from what I've looked up, and seen. Um, so how about you? What would you say the difference is? Because I just don't think, um, saying that the difference between cultural diffusion and appropriation is that one is good and one is bad. I wouldn't say that's a satisfying enough answer. How about you? What would you say the difference is?
Um, I'll say with cultural diffusion, you're letting other people share your culture. the letting them do like food or style and showcasing your culture. With cultural appropriation, you're basically altering the meaning of what is originally there.
All right, I see.
So the main difference, like say for example, you like palakina, Indian dish, but and a lot of Hindus would be offended if you like wore bindi. So basically, it's taking something that is has deep cultural and religious content and twisting it into a altering it the meaning and the representation and the symbolism. That's when it starts getting problematic.
All right. Well, yeah, I will say that's definitely a more satisfying answer than what I've heard for sure. I mean, what I've heard before. Um, but yeah. Um, oh yeah. Also another thing. Um, so I would like to ask. So yeah, this is kind of getting into a bit more of a sensitive slash deep topic. Like, if you're okay with discussing that, are you?
Yeah. What do you want to say?
All right. So I noticed earlier you mentioned spirituality and rituals and stuff like that. So uh, so would you say it's wrong for non-natives to participate in certain rituals or spiritual practices, or just uh, spiritual views overall? Just in your
Well,
opinion.
I'm not native, so I can't speak on behalf of the opinion. So I would
Okay.
recommend having to go to them and uh to ask them instead.
All right.
So yeah, especially when it also comes to First Nation laws. Unless if you're invited to, I would probably not. But like I said, I'm not one to speak for them. You would have to ask them. Again, it's quite different tribes. You'll have different opinions.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
for sure. Yeah, native people are definitely very diverse among themselves. They're different. There are many different tribes. Absolutely.
yeah.
Um.
In Australia, there's different tribes and of First Nation people, but they call themselves mobs, like different mobs.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've never heard a group of people like straight up call themselves a mob. That's interesting.
yeah, mob,
Hmm.
mob, mob,
Oh wait, mod or mob?
mob,
Okay, gotcha.
mobs, mob.
I think that's kind of funny, honestly. Because in at least in America, the term mob actually has a really negative connotation.
What does
If
it
you say
mean?
like so a mob is basically just a large group of people. But I'll tell you why it has a negative connotation in America. So in America, like if a group of people is referred to as a mob, there's usually a context of, oh, they're violent rioters who want to cause chaos and burn a bunch of stuff down. Like that's where the term mob rule comes from. I mean, so mob rule is basically like a way to say democracy, but with a negative connotation. Um, and I mean, I'd say it's definitely problematic. Because um, yeah, it's definitely problematic. Um, because it's painting people who want to create actual change in a negative light. So I'd say that's definitely one problem I have with America. Like, like America considers just like a large group of people that want to protest for their rights or something, violent mob. So this is where uh, just overall truth and justice can get twisted. So I think that's definitely a problem. But yeah, it's really funny. Like if you say mob like in America, people are gonna think you're referring to like basically a terrorist organization, which is insane. Like in America, like they like America calls all kinds of people terrorists. It's ridiculous. Like it's really bad. You still there? Hello?
Sorry, oh yeah, yeah, sorry. As I was saying, what was it again? Yeah, it definitely also how definitely I think I know this is like a major problem in the Native community. A lot of Native women just constantly go missing, and it's really a
Oh
problem.
yeah, I've heard of this a lot. And so Black Lives Matter actually addresses this as well. Yeah, that is true. There have been a lot of reports about missing Native women. Um, oh yeah, by the way, so speaking of Native people, I'm just gonna go back and have just a huge disclaimer real fast. I have absolutely nothing against Native spirituality or um, spiritual practices originating in Native culture. I was just asking that to get your perspective on the matter, but
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely no disrespect to any um spiritual native practices. That's just a huge disclaimer I just want to make. But yeah, like in but yeah, I'd for sure say like um you know like spirituality is definitely something that's very important to a lot of people. So I can definitely understand that. So absolutely yeah, absolutely no disrespect to uh spiritual practices originating in native culture. Absolutely not. Yeah, anyway, so yeah, let's move on from that. Let's yeah, just making that
yeah,
disclaimer. But yeah, let's move on from that. So yeah, what were you saying about Native American women missing?
yeah. They'll just go missing. I believe. I feel like they'll either get kidnapped or something like that. Kidnapped or hurt. Definitely a lot of genocide happened, and genocide still happens today.
Oh yeah, it
Just when
does
it comes,
absolutely.
yeah, when it comes to First Nations people, like recently, was it the Victorian government cut down a sacred tree of the Indigenous people.
Oh wow.
Basically, they like just to make more roads, and that is really just like
Yeah, that's fucked. Yeah, I can agree with that for sure. Um,
yeah,
uh, but
like these like places and objects and these plants that have a very sacred meaning are just being destroyed every day. And First Nation
yeah,
people are treated less than white people, and that's where don't want to get into like white privilege, but that's like the way that it's treated. Like um, they're like there's a stereotype of like um indigenous people being poor, being thieves, petrol sniffers, um, big dog, wild, but they're the original landowners of Australia.
yeah, that's really sad. There are actually a lot of negative stereotypes of Native Americans over here. Like the negative stereotype portrays Native people as primitive, wild people who just want to go around kill a bunch of people. Uh, Native Americans are portrayed as cannibals, um, who are just dangerous and just want to rape women, and it's just awful. The
Right.
negative stereotypes of Native Americans here are just awful.
Yeah. I mean, any harmful stereotype in general is harmful.
Yeah, yeah, for
And
sure. Which is why
yeah, as someone like
communication is important. We definitely need a lot of more communication with these communities to have a better understanding of them.
yeah, and going back to the topic earlier, I said about autism. There's
Oh,
also in the Xiao's music there is a where the character has a meltdown and she's basically held down, like she's basically held down, which
oh
you don't
God.
do that.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't do that. That can definitely make someone feel like they're being confined and put in danger and about to have something horrible happen to them. That's not
yeah,
okay at all whatsoever.
yeah, and a lot of people can can be killed by that thing, like and restraining them on the stomach in the front,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
that was like broadcasted, and it just really gives it a bad light, especially when you are broadcasting something so harmful. You get it basically encourages people to further that stigma, to further that dangerous stereotype, and
Yeah, that's true.
like recently in like a couple weeks ago, an autistic boy died because he was restrained in a position that like in the front by a police officer.
Yeah, that's horrible. That Yeah, that's absolutely terrible. The way police treat autistic people and people with disabilities in general is really awful. They have no understanding of uh, of disabilities and of how people with different minds work, which is extremely dangerous. This is really why I say police need to be abolished because they're a real menace to uh, just people. They're a real threat and danger to everyday people, and it's not okay. It's not okay the way they just treat people.
I mean, like, what do you think should replace police officers? Should
Um,
they be replaced?
I'd say they shouldn't be replaced at all. I mean, a police officer's job is really uh just to yeah, a police officer's job is really just mainly to enforce property rights, um, to in to enforce harmful laws, to kill people, um, to enforce to enforce the government's will onto the people, and to really just control people. And I don't think this is okay. I think we need to live freely in our own way, peacefully. I
Yeah,
mean, police cause a lot of violence. So I mean, they're really just a threat to our peace and just the way we live.
yeah.
And I don't think it's okay. I think they just need to be abolished completely.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about the difference between American um police officers and Australian police officers, but I'm not really sure if there's a difference because like from what I've seen, and I know yeah some cops are bad, but there are some like good cops that are I mean, they do their job.
Well, I'm gonna have to disagree. I'd say all cops are bad because their job is well, it's to enforce the government's will onto the people, and their job involves murder, racism, uh, harming people, and really just sexual abuse. A lot of just messed up stuff has happened uh, from police. Um, There have been
Um,
so many just violent attacks that have happened from cops. I'd say it's really just best we not have them all together so we can avoid all this.
well, would you agree that cops have done a good thing,
No, I wouldn't agree with that. I
or what about like they might have saved someone?
I mean, I really can't think of a scenario where a cop has saved someone. And if they have saved someone, it was probably for the benefit of themselves or the state. But yeah, I just really can't think of an example. I mean, just from what I've seen, cops are selfish, racist, and just violent who only want to carry out orders from the government.
I mean, I can half agree on that. I can definitely half agree on that. Especially, I definitely think it falls also under white privilege.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, for sure.
if you like saying all cops are bad, like, what about like, are you talking about like white cops or like what about like black or Asian or like person of color cops?
Well, so this is my perspective on person of color cops. So uh, yeah, I'm not hating on people of color at all, and I'm not even hating on white people either. But I will say, being a cop that's a person of color doesn't exactly give you an excuse to be a cop because they're still enforcing the racist system. Honestly, I'd say cops that are people of color are actually victims because they don't realize that the system is designed to hurt them. Instead, they've been convinced by the government that it'll protect them and that there's no such thing as racism anymore. And using uh, people of, person of color cops as an example, which just perpetuates more institutional racism. So I'd say it's definitely.
I mean,
I'd
would you
say.
like say person of color cops are bad
I mean,
or
I'd
white?
say they're bad because they're still enforcing the system and still uh they still commit violent acts and they still just enforce the harmful laws that the government has. I mean, I'm not saying they're bad because of their race. I'm saying they're bad because they're cops. Um, I mean, I
Would you say would you say it's entirely their fault or they're not too black?
um I wouldn't say it's their fault. I'd say that they're victims of institutional racism actually, because the system is trying to uh, convince everyone that there's no such thing as racism in America anymore. And they're going to use cops that are of color as an example of, oh, hey, look, we have this black cop over here. There's no such thing as racism anymore. Go fuck yourselves, Black Lives Matter. Which again is using black people and just people of color in general as a token and as an excuse to just enforce more institutional racism. So I'd say it's definitely problematic in that sense. So,
Well, in Australia, I've seen a lot of majority of cops I've seen, like police seen are white. Rarely have I seen Indian ones, but definitely they're I'll say I'm not really sure about violence. I'll say they can be violent, especially if it's a person
well,
definitely affects people and treated differently.
I will say the cops I'm referring to are mostly American cops. Can we both just agree here that American cops are definitely the worst of all cops?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean Australian cops are no better, but they're not as bad,
I mean, I wouldn't
but
say
they're bad still.
I'd say they're definitely less shit. But I mean, I've even seen footage of Australian cops myself. I've seen them just attack peaceful protesters, just trying to protest for their freedom. I've seen them being attacked, arrested, and uh, just just overall treated horribly, just for peacefully protesting. And yeah, I'd say that's definitely not okay.
Yeah. I mostly find them as like race because like it's always like, oh, you do this fine, you do that fine, and like basically the road rules in especially in my state are very strict. But I'm not really sure about other states, so it's different. Like different states have different rules.
Yeah, yeah, that's the same over here as well. Like there are like 50 states in the United States, and every state is really they're drastically different, and a lot of the laws differ as well. Like for example, let's see, yeah, let me think of an example. Oh yeah, in Texas, uh, the death penalty is legal there, and it has just a lot of just options for the death penalty. Whereas in a state like California, the death penalty has been abolished just completely. Um, and yeah, let me just say, I'm very against the death penalty. No one should die from the government. I think that's way too fucking far.
I think it should only be reserved as people that like deserve it unless if they're like a really scummy person.
Well,
You understand?
well, here's the problem. So how would someone qualify as scummy enough? Also, would you say like so let's give an example. So someone would you say they should be killed as punishment?
Um, if they're remorseful, no. But if they're not remorseful or they just like they don't regret their action or like they're like psycho, you understand what I'm saying?
But how would that I have a question for you. How would that teach them that lesson? I mean, wouldn't it be teaching them that killing is okay? Because I mean, oh, I guess what I did was okay because they're about to kill me. So I guess that means murder is okay. Um, and also, if they're dead, how would they be able to learn their lesson? I mean, what lesson does that teach them once they're dead? Because they're dead. Uh, how would how would that benefit anyone?
I mean, think of it this way. Um, say you have like somebody that you know, the difference. Someone that is sensible or someone that just has like is just soulless and absolute monster. I mean, I do believe there's definitely people that are out there that are monsters and definitely have no sympathy. And yes, I do think that if you're a massively a sicko that just has no remorse for anyone or is like well, you don't deserve anything good to happen to you.
But would you say, well, when you say death is way too harsh, I mean, and also wouldn't that be hypocritical? Because I mean, you're kind of taking away the ultimate right that everyone deserves, life. I mean, it like I mean, who are you to say uh that this person is an absolute sicko because they took someone's life and then take their life? I mean, what kind of example would that be?
Like, what if they're like, like fake they like, held them hostage or kidnapped them, abused them?
Well, I mean, in that case, I'd say it's worse. I mean, I'd rather be held hostage, and then later eventually I get to live my life rather than just be killed. I mean, I'd say that'd be a good point against the death penalty, because if you're punishing someone for doing something that's less bad than taking someone's life, then shouldn't shouldn't that be an example of just how the death penalty is absolutely barbaric and just needs to be abolished?
Well, what if they did about act like they sexually assaulted a child?
I mean, I
Or
I do agree. I do agree that's wrong. That sexual assault is horrible, but I still think it's hypocritical to kill someone for it. Because uh, that like they committed a horrible act. And so as a result, um, you're killed off for it.
yeah,
That just I
I
just see it as hypocrisy because there's really no lesson to be learned here, and you're kind of justifying um bad behavior by saying, oh, this person uh did this. This is bad behavior, so we get to have uh that we get to commit bad behavior to this guy. This guy deserves to fucking die now. I just see it
well,
as completely hypocritical.
I mean, I see a point, but I personally would judge it on like the level of the crime. So if it's like low, but if it's like something extreme to the point where like a lot of people are hurt, a lot of people have been traumatized, a lot of people have been scarred from an act, I would say that there is some level there.
Well, as much as I agree that's wrong, at the same time, I just don't see the purpose in taking someone's life for it. I mean, there's no lesson to be learned. That person doesn't learn and grow from it. And someone ends up becoming a murderer. The executioner kills a person. I mean, that just creates more murder. I'd say it's best to set an example uh, by preserving the right to life, um, and just by just figuring out just how to provide a lesson in all this rather than to just just kill someone, because I mean that just creates more bloodshed. I mean, this it kind of goes
Yeah,
with the eye for an eye saying, like in the Bible. I mean, an eye for an eye makes the world go blind. Like if you just kill someone because that person killed someone, and then someone saw you killing that person, a bunch of people are just gonna die because they see it as
yeah.
justifiable. But yeah, so yeah. Oh yeah. By the
You
way,
can,
so I just want to say, we've kind of been going on a bit of a tangent. Are you okay if we talk more about like you know, like with diversity and inclusion for a bit? Because like
yeah,
we've been talking about the death penalty. I mean, I'd love to talk to you more about that another time, but yeah.
yeah. We kind of got off topic. Yeah, yeah, sure. Go on. Is there anything you have in mind, or?
All right. Let me think. Let's see. I guess I'd like to bring up um just just move like movements that have been going on in recent times about uh that are overall just fighting for equality. I'd say the best example, of course, is Black Lives Matter. Um, uh, but yeah, I'd say definitely a huge important part of progress and inclusivity in general um, is definitely fighting for equality for black people, and really just all kinds of people, like all kinds of races and ethnicities, etc.
or like sexuality, like the
Yeah,
LGBT,
sexualities for
right?
sure. Yeah, the LGBT
Like
movement's important too.
the gay rights movement. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm
and
definitely
also
very pro gay
disabilities as
rights
well.
and I'm pro Black Lives Matter as well. Yeah, what were you about to say?
And also oh, I was gonna say ableism as well. Like
Oh yeah, for sure, for
that's
sure.
not taken ableism is not really taken seriously, but it definitely needs to. I've recently noticed that it's starting to be talked about, and I've noticed that it has been starting to take it a little seriously about it with ableism.
Yeah, for sure. I do appreciate how it's being more talked about nowadays. Which is definitely good for people with disabilities.
Yeah, it's about building awareness. Like personally, I believe that ableism should be treated as the same way as racism is
Oh yeah,
called out,
it
or
should be.
sexism,
I mean, it
or
kind
like
of
transphobia or homophobia or any phobia or um any ism that is broken out of.
yeah, for sure. It all really ties into what's the word? Intersectionalism. I mean, it's really all connected. Um, it's because just society in general just wants to divide people. Like once you divide people and get people to attack other people, that's when society steps in and controls people. The whole divide and conquer concept. So
Yeah,
what
like
we got to do is realize all
divide.
the issues. Come together and just accept people, just as people.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely think there definitely needs to be more conversations instead of just going around saying that someone doesn't agree with you. You just immediately just call them, you know, like transphobic or racist or homophobic or that sort of thing,
Yeah,
without
yeah,
having a proper conversation just to learn from one another.
yeah, for sure. This definitely needs to be talked about a lot more. Yeah, we got to start more conversations like these. Oh yeah, by the way, so yeah, speaking of conversations, this one has actually been going on for about 2 hours now. So you cool if we just wrap it up pretty soon?
What did you say?
Oh, so we've been doing this for about 2 hours. You cool if we just wrap this up in a bit?
Yeah, sure.
All
Wrap it
right,
up.
cool. So I will say so before we end the episode. Uh, so what would you say is just real fast something positive we can take from all this, just in general?
Definitely ask a lot of questions. Definitely look up sources from ethnicity groups or minority groups. Definitely talk to people. You know, if there's like a local community, talk to them, interview them, follow content creators, read books, read articles. Just educate yourself onto the problems that minority groups face. Definitely be an ally. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can absolutely agree.
And
Definitely
and
participate in
and spread
definitely
awareness
educate
as
yourself.
well. Just spread awareness. Spread awareness
Oh
is
yeah,
a definitely
absolutely.
thing.
We definitely need.
Donate, you know, get into donate to organizations.
Yeah, for sure. We,
Um,
we we definitely need
mm,
to spread awareness and definitely participate in education about all this. So yeah, anyway, so yeah, I think we should wrap this up real fast. I think this can bring forth a positive future if we just keep
yeah,
being more positive and inclusive. Oh yeah, so anyway, yeah, guys. So there's going to be more episodes in the future every week. If you want to be on an episode, let me know. Thank you for coming on, Jukebox. It's been a great episode. So yeah, thank you for that.
yeah. You're welcome.
See ya.
Yeah.